times I'm right, and I can be wrong. The beliefs are in my soul. The butcher, the baker, the drummer, and then makes no difference. I group I'm in. I am everyday people. Yeah, yeah. There is the green one that can't accept the green one for living with the bad one who's trying to be the skinny one. Different folks, but different folks. No one is so for the Scooby-Doo. Ooh, sha-sha. We gotta live together. I am no better, and neither are you. We're all the same, whatever we do. You love me, you hate me, you know me, and then you can't figure the bag I'm in. I am everyday people. There is a long hair who can't accept the short hair for being such a rich one who wanted help the poor one. Different strokes for different folks, and so on and so on. It's Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Ooh, sha-sha. We gotta live together. There is a yellow one that won't accept the black one, that won't accept the red one, that won't accept the white one. Different strokes for different folks, and so on and so on. And Scooby-Doo-Doo. Ooh, sha-sha. Ooh, sha-sha. Them everyday people. Okay, everyone join us now. Back to the first verse, right? Some can be wrong. My own beliefs are in my song. The butcher, the banker, the drummer, and then makes no difference what group I'm in. I am everyday people. Now sing, we are everyday people. We are everyday people. Yeah, yeah. We are everyday people. Yeah, yeah. We are everyday people. We are everyday people. Yeah, yeah. True.
Good morning. Am I on? Well, that's it. Thank you for coming. No, I'm only kidding. I'll tell you what, there's nothing like Sly and the Family Stone to kick off Black History Month. And when you go home, Google the lyrics. He was way before his time. And that message, that prayer, that intention, that hope is alive and well today in his lyrics. So thank you, Sly. We're going to turn off our phones. Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati. My name is Reverend Mary Tarbell-Green, and I'm grateful to be here with all of you. I'm all revved up. I'm schwitzing. And welcome to those joining us remotely. We stand here with sacred regard on the grounds of the Adena and the Hopewell cultures as Shamandasi people. Our church is committed to social justice, supporting the various spiritual, ethical paths of our members, as well as welcoming the possible. We do this by providing gender-neutral restrooms, hearing devices, space for children, and if you feel comfortable, pick up your knitting needles. Except there's one thing. I mean, we want you to be comfortable, but my brother Jim is not allowed to get his harmonica out. It's just not in the program. Any information that you'd like on us, please look at member-care@firstuu.com to learn more about the First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati. And now, we're looking for a new minister, but we have an interim minister, Lincoln, right? Lincoln. And Camden and his dad, they're going to light the chalice. For all of you who don't know, Lincoln's very comfortable up here, and we welcome him. In this month of February, Black History Month, our Unitarian heritage bids us light our chalice. In the name of freedom, in actions of tolerance, in the light of reason, we gather in community to celebrate a heritage of freedom, of reason, of tolerance. Our Universalist heritage bids us light this chalice in the name of faith, in the name of hope, in actions of love. We gather in community to celebrate a heritage of faith and of hope and of love. Let us bring this Unitarian Universalist heritage into the world, into our lives today, and may we thank Reverend Lincoln. So in body and spirit, if you can stand, we will sing our vision song, which I hope they put up there because there we go. We all live for we live. Do this when we're singing it, because so the next time maybe we'll do this. And now I want to say first that the flowers, we have these beautiful flowers. Joe Rowling loved yellow, and in honor of the year anniversary of his passing, his yahrzeit, Jean brought these beautiful flowers. She said it was kind of hard to find because it's Valentine's Day, but she found them. And then Bev Lutz brought us red flowers in honor of the way that we side with love. So please greet your members and friends and families, and then I'll ring this little gong to bring you back. Hi.
Come down?
Oh, I guess I should. Jesus Christ, I don't know what I'm doing. There were
welcome to the
Hi.
church.
Mwah. Gosh, you all are so responsive. We have Meredith and our story for ages, all ages.
Caring, with Bert and Ernie, a book about empathy, by Marie-Therese Miller. What is empathy? Empathy means you understand how someone feels. Here's Ernie, who says, I care about how my old buddy Bert feels. A friend stays home sick from school. You might send her a get well soon card. Here's Big Bird, who says, I give Snuffy tissues when he has a cold. How feelings look. People often show how they feel with their faces. The Count says, when I'm happy, I have one big smile on my face. Sometimes people show how they feel with actions. How can you tell what another person is feeling? People might stomp their feet if they are angry. People cry when they are sad. What might you do if your friend feels sad? You can sit with them and listen. You can share others' good feelings too. You might jump up and down with an excited friend. Abby Kadabi says, when Elmo is happy, I feel happy too. We have a giggle-tastic time. People feel tired sometimes. They might be cranky. You understand. They need rest. Here's Baby Bear, who says, I tell fairy tales to Curly Bear when she is sleepy. Loud noises can be overwhelming. Sometimes people need quiet time. Julia screams, Bubbles! Her mother says, we play quietly with Bubbles. Empathy helps you understand how others feel. It connects people together. When have you felt empathy for someone else? What did you say or do? Be a buddy. Have your friends make believe they are feeling a certain emotion. For example, they might pretend to be sad or happy, embarrassed or scared. Guess what they are feeling. What could you do to help them? The author, Marie-Therese Miller, has dedicated this book in memory of her son-in-law, Sean, who put empathy into action. How do you put empathy into action?
The lyric sheets for this song are hopefully in your hands. Please feel welcome to join us. You who are on the road must have it known that you can live by. So become your yourself, because the past is just a goodbye. Teach your children well, their father's hell did slowly go by, and feed them on your dreams, the one they picks, the one you know by. Don't you ever ask them why, if they told you you would cry, so just look at them and sigh, and know they love you. And you hear of tender years, do you care? Can't know the fear. Can you see that your elders must be free to and so teach your please help them with your youth. They seek the truth before they can die, and teach your parents well, their children's hell will slowly go by, and feed them on your dreams, the one they picks, the one you know by. Don't you ever ask them why, if they told you you would cry, so just look at them and sigh, and know they love you.
So an a cappella Go Now in Peace. Go now in peace, go. Good morning. We're going to do a kind of a dramatic shift because obviously we have a lot of joys. We do, and we've welcomed new kids and new families, and it just makes my heart grow. While at the same time, not to mention the numbers, but in Turkey and Syria, it's beyond. It's just beyond, and so this is the time that we contemplate joys and sorrows we hold in our hearts. The water represents love in our community. We drop a stone in the water to help soften our sorrows and amplify our joy. All of the individual joys and sorrows come together in one bowl so that we may symbolically share and hold these in our community, in particular Turkey and Syria. So the way it works is you'll come down, how do we do this? We come down the sides. Somebody's looking at me and rolling their eyes. And putting whatever you want into the bowl to symbolize your joys and sorrows. And then we go back to our seats. Before we do that, this is an offertory prayer for what's going on in Turkey and Syria, and not to forget Ukraine. Our hearts hurt for the people of Turkey and Syria. We know earth shudders under the brutality of injustice inflicted upon her and her people anywhere and everywhere. Yet her own quaking leaves thousands dead and even more injured. As earth shakes and buildings topple and people are buried, there is a wailing and a weeping for every lost soul. There's a rejoicing for every child or woman or man rescued alive, miraculously alive from the rubble. Prayer on our knees or in our hearts is what we have to offer, and we beg, please, bring hope to the desperate, comfort to those who have lost loved ones, healing to those injured, strength of spirit to the rescue workers, generosity of heart to other nations who will do their own contribution. Help us to hear the cries of our universal family. Keep us tethered to them as a newborn is to her mother, providing life through prayer, through action, donation, so they do not, nor will they ever feel abandoned or alone. May they know our connection to them in spirit and action. May we devote a paused breath again and again. So please come and join the circle of connection here. One for all of the joys and sorrows outside these walls that go unmentioned. Another for the joys and sorrows that go unspoken, that we have carefully guarded in our hearts. And last, for the sorrow and brokenness in our world as we search for ways to be agents of wholeness and of love. And if you would take out your hymnal, page 1053, and join us in How Could Anyone? And stand if you're willing and able. And the offertory? I don't know. If you'd like to donate to First Church, you can do so. Oh, there we are. What I share the basket this month is. Does anyone know? Greater Cincinnati Homeless. And what an astounding job. She spoke to us. And please Google them for any additional information. So the baskets will be passed for the Greater Cincinnati Coalition on the Homeless. And also, there are two other things. If you want to give to First Church, you can text by that telephone number. You can go on Breeze, and the drop-down says Give Now, or online, www.firstchurch.com. And there's a new thing. We always want to do specific joys and sorrows. And if we're YouTubing publicly, we're kind of wondering how that works. And so on the back, if you'd like to, we're going to ask if you want your joys and concerns in the monthly newsletter, which is posted within the church. You can check here. Or if you'd like me to contact you for any personal things, you can check here. And you can sign it and put it in the offertory basket as it's being passed around. And the offertory will now begin. That's mine. Good morning. Meredith, our Director of Religious Education, and then some, will send us an email, and sometimes she'll start the email with, "Dear beloveds." I cringe. It seems so ceremonial. "Dear beloveds, we're gathered here together." It seems so personal and so kind and gentle. And then I think, well, she's an extraordinary mom with 2 extraordinary daughters, a busy mom and a busy Director of Religious Education, and Meredith has honed patience and compassion. But why call me beloved? I don't deserve that, and yet here I am in a community that has gone through so much, yet in spite of all of that is resilient, open, and willing to be a community of beloveds. Beloved means admired, cherished, esteemed, and loved, right here, right now. And our extended community of families and friends and loved ones, all of you, they too, you are, for each of us, admired, cherished, esteemed, and loved, blessed beyond measure. As I wrestle my cringe to the ground and appreciate the true nature of beloveds, I like it. I like me as a beloved in a beloved community, a community, a family that keeps giving and growing, extending themselves. It was once said that you cannot love. Hold on. You can love without giving, but you cannot love without loving. You can love without giving, but you cannot give without loving. And that's exactly what we are doing and what we do. We love. Maybe my cringe was about, yikes, that's so, mushy because, I'm here just like you, like everybody else, maybe helping out, sitting on a committee, cleaning up after coffee hour, holding the door open. So what? We all do that. However, Meredith is able to see the deeper in that. The admired, the cherished, the esteemed, and the loved. Take a look around. Here we are, all beloveds. Try that on and keep that on. It's in our covenant, the capacity to love unconditionally. We Unitarians do not have commandments, but we do have a most heartfelt covenant that we are guided by and invited toward the better in us. Out in the lobby, before you enter, the double doors, well, actually, as you're leaving on the left, hangs a most beautiful work of art that Jan Conley did at a pre-COVID UU Women's Retreat. She said, "Please don't draw any attention to myself." And so here we are, Jan Conley, in which she describes how our covenant informed her piece. She's tenderly woven together pieces of fabric of all different colors, reflecting our diversity, our individualism, our spiritual paths, as expressed in our covenantal guidelines that are explicit for we Unitarians, but that in fact are universal and inclusive to all our society and community at large. They apply to all of us. That we are woven together to support individual ethical and spiritual journey. That we are woven toward capacity of love unconditionally, the all of us. That we are woven to find courage and inspiration, to put our faith into action in social justice issues. Woven to grow and see clearly that we're a part of this independent web of all existence. We are woven in covenant to a fabric stronger than any single thread could hope to be. These are universal Unitarian principles. They are universal principles, and they are the all in all of us. In the center of her work is the flaming chalice that represents the symbol of warmth of community, the light of reason, and the quest for truth, and the sacred. You, theist and atheist and agnostic, you are the sacred. These are universal principles, the all in all of us, and if practiced, a single strand connecting each of us. In the Christian tradition of communion, common union, in the Jewish tradition of the challah, where there are 3 breads braided together that represent truth and peace and justice. All faith traditions, at their core, are woven in these universal principles. Some with God, some with Jesus, some with Buddha, some with Muhammad as their guide, but all are bound together, love binding their principles to make them a whole. That is what I'm fascinated with, drawn to, called to, the love, the one breath, the universal in all of us, versus what separates us. In 1 Corinthians, and now the 3 remain, faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is love. It's why Meredith addresses us as dear beloveds, why we continue to grow in this beloved community, why despite our fragments and fractures and missteps, we are here together thriving and growing and being beloved. Let me share a little bit about why this beloved means so much to me and why I serve on the Extended Ministry Committee, trying to fill in the role of pastoral care. Years ago, I was EAP, Employee Assistance Coordinator for American Airlines. We had a big office down on 4th Street, 4th and Walnut. And the job meant counseling, referring resources to employees and their families. But because we were an airline, we were governed, I still think I am, by the FAA. And so we had a strict alcohol and drug policy, and if an employee failed that urine test, they were referred to EAP for treatment. And because we were an airline, we could fly anywhere, and often I sent people to Hazleton in Minnesota, inpatient for 30 days. They would return and begin working with me on a weekly basis around compliance recommendations, AA meetings, the other AA, not American Airlines, Alcoholics Anonymous, working with a sponsor, doing their service commitments. But at times, somebody would return back from work, I'd sit with them going over their checklist, and I'd notice a light in their eyes, a clarity, a spiritual awakening. And I would be taken by that. What was that light, that softening? What was going on for them? My lingering attraction to that light, I was captivated. Fast forward, my husband and I moved to California to help care for his parents, and I extended my alcohol and drug license to California, began working, looking, shopping around for a master's program in social work, maybe. But I found myself exploring seminaries. Same light, different venue. I had absolutely no dream towards seminary. I just was following a pull. I entered a master's program of culture and spirituality at Holy Names College. It's Matthew Fox's Original Blessing. It was like an excavation. I was splayed open. And it allowed me to dig deep into the notions and the ideas of what I thought was the next step, and what I thought the universe was. And so one day, Barry and I were attending the Berkeley Street Fair, and I popped in to get a chair massage. It was Berkeley. Chair massage, tattoos, incense, body painting. It was Berkeley. And so I'm getting my chair massage, and Barry pokes his head in the tent and said I had to come down to the table next door and meet someone who directs the Chaplaincy Institute. And he said it's really a fit. It's got your name all over it. Reverend Dr. Gina Rose Halpern, the director of the Chaplaincy Institute of Interfaith Studies. At the time, there were 3 interfaith seminaries. One was here in Berkeley, one in Atlanta, one in New York. There could be more. And they had several levels of study, including ordination. I took all the brochures home, and I sat there all day long crying, holding those brochures, being drawn to a place that seemed very foreign to me, yet saying out loud that I always wanted to be a priest. But I had no idea where that came from, because my childhood Catholic tradition did not allow then, nor now, a woman to be a priest. So I answered whatever that call was, and I began my studies in this seminary, and it was amazing. We did Seder during the Jewish module. We did Diwali, Festival of Lights, during the Hindu module. We did Sweat Lodge, studying indigenous and native religions. Every module had a different path. We also had to do 200 volunteer hours as part of our requirement, and so I enjoyed study with one of the teachers, Reverend Jürgen Schwing, and he was the director of pastoral care at Kaiser Permanente in Walnut Creek. And so I signed up with him for my 200 hours so I could learn more from him. And each Thursday I'd go to his office, get my sheet of patient visits for my role as volunteer chaplain. I had no idea what that meant, but we were trained on protocols and monitored and mentored by chaplains, so off I went with my little patient list across the campus to the ICU. I hated it. I hated hospitals. I had family that went in hospitals for various reasons, other than what they went in the hospital for, and I didn't have any good and wholesome memories. And so, but here I was, fulfilling 200 hours, and so I forged along to fulfill my hours. On this particular Thursday, I went in the ICU, knocked on the door, and it was circular. I had my little volunteer chaplain ID. And I knocked on the door, and a woman opened the door, and she saw my chaplain, and she said, "We're Jewish." Well, the word chaplain connotes Christian, and she clearly wanted no part of that. But Barry is Jewish, and it was Thursday, so I leaned into Friday and offered back, "I'm just here to wish you an early Shabbat Shalom." And with that, her eyes softened, she started crying, she was stunned. They were here for a wedding, and Norman had a stroke, and you could tell she had no idea what the outcome was. And she pointed to him, had no connection with her local temple, and she was scared. And so she allowed me to come in, and I began connecting with local rabbis in San Francisco and resources, and she calmed down, and she was grateful. And then she invited me over to meet Norman. I wasn't sure what that meant. He was non-responsive. She guided me to his bedside. She softly took his hand, gently stroking, bent down and whispered to this once vibrant man with bushy eyebrows and said, "Norman, this is Mary. She's a volunteer chaplain here to wish you an early Shabbat Shalom." And with his eyes bolted open, he looked straight at me and said, "Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom." That was it. I was stunned. Now I was stunned. I had no idea what had just happened. I had no idea what that confluence was. It took my breath away, but I knew right then and there that whatever just happened, the confluence, his deep and abiding faith, my willingness to be where he was, where life and death communicate within the thin veil, whatever that was, I knew that that's where I needed and wanted to be and where I was called to be. And so thus began my role as a hospital and hospice chaplain, and later as a pediatric chaplain, pediatric hospice, where with pediatric hospice I wished similar faith and hope and confluence, sadness and sorrow, but clearly in pediatrics, love being the highest of all of those. So I became part of a beloved community of practitioners called to help people in their final breath with all of the hope and the prayer and the grief and the loss, the regrets and the healings that in a beloved community I was privileged to be a part of. That's what I do today. I sit with your hope, your prayer, your grief, your sorrow, your regrets, your healings. Not Valentine's mushy love, but hard-fought, struggling, sacrificing, joyful, grateful, never do this alone kind of love. That's what feeds me. To be with you all and know you and see how many expressions here in just this community we have. I mean, right now, right relations in our board and our tech people and our band and JERA, religious education, TED Talks, kids classes who learn about justice and fairness and racism and equity, and a garden, and a treasured custodian who does everything, and greeters at the door and welcomers to coffee hour, and minister search teams, which include Lincoln, and book clubs, and Get Out the Vote, and social justice and lifespan, and tutors at South Avondale Elementary and Shiloh Kitchen, and music bells, and choirs and styrofoam recycling teams, worship committees, extended ministries, and Tim's and Lois and David's and Mary's and Chris and Dennis and Gary and Joella and Ginny and Dan and Janet and Patty and Scott and Jera, Rosie, Noriko, Barb and Ed, Carol W., Doug G., Faith, Barbara N., Lynn, Ellen, Bonnie, Barbara, Barney. I had to do that, Bonnie, Barbara, Bonnie. Share the Plate, and Dee, and Ann Black, and Carla in Florida, and Frank Carpenter, and Jack Niehaus, and Rebecca, and Philip. I mean, the list goes on. I was astounded at who we are and what we do. Any contribution made on my part for comfort, for listening, for support is in its own honor and privilege our journey of growth and change. We simply cannot be love alone. Forgive me for not mentioning everyone, including Vivian, oh my God, the icon of our community. But for me, this is an all-beloved congregation, and we seem to be all in growing forth. For the loved and the beloved in you, like you, I serve at the pleasure of our covenant. I serve honoring each of you as the light behind our chalice, as a tapestry that binds us, and for that my heart is full and is grateful. Amen and amen. So what we are doing now I am going to do a reading by Amanda Gorman. We're going to extinguish our chalice. Is Eric here? Oh, here he comes. At the end, I'll read Amanda Gorman. He will extinguish our chalice, and we will join in what we say at the end of our chalice. And then you're going to melt with our final closing. Amanda Gorman. Back to the past. At times, even blessings will bleed us. There are some who lost their lives and some who were lost from ours, who might now re-enter all our someones, summoned softly. The closest we get to time travel is our fears softening, our hurts unclenching, as we become more akin to kin, as we return to who we were before we actually were anything or anyone. That is when we were born unhating and unhindered, howling wetly, with everything we could yet become. To travel back in time is to remember when all that we knew of ourselves was love. And we extinguish our chalice. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Always. that's when I'll be there always. Not for just an hour, not for just a day, not for just a year, but always. Days may not be fair always. That's when I'll be there always. Not for just an hour, not for just a day, not for just a year.